There's something about Luigi that's always captivated me in a way unlike most video game protagonists. Besides Mario and the blue blur, God, I can hear the lisp in my voice, this is not going to be good. He radiates such a charming personality thanks to his scaredy cat mindset as seen across the entire Mario franchise. It seems as if a lot of people see Luigi as a more relatable character in comparison to his more popular brother, and I've heard thousands of stories of people playing Mario games with their siblings and falling in love with Luigi through that. Not literally fall in love, I mean you can if you want to, like, you know, do whatever. But growing up as an older brother and a single child for almost a decade of my life has made me appreciate Mario more than his lankier and greener brother. I never really played him in games where he was an option because I always found the red mustached man to be braver and therefore just more appealing. That was until 2013, when it was revealed that Luigi's Mansion would be getting a brand new sequel for the 3DS, named Luigi's Mansion 2, or Dark Moon for those outside of Europe, Japan and Australia. The game released during the year of Luigi, which was an exciting year for die-hard Nintendo fans, as we'd be getting a bunch of great Luigi-themed experiences. Well, we thought that's what we were going to get, but it ended up with, yeah, so the year of Luigi wasn't great, but despite these shortcomings, Luigi's Mansion 2 ended up being an acclaimed sequel that made fantastic use of the 3DS's capabilities, as well as bringing the IP to a brand new generation for people like me to enjoy. And enjoy it I did. So, with the release of its remake finally here, let's delve into my thoughts on Luigi's Mansion 2, the game that defined what the 3DS was all about, yet a game that left so many fans divided. The sequel took a much more linear design than the original by choosing to split the game into 5 unique and complex mansions, which you explore through a level system, making it feel like a typical Nintendo title rather than a gloomy open world experience. You and your professor friend E.Gadd are still buddies in this game, and he tasks you once again with saving the mansions swarmed by once friendly ghosts, as well as working out the locations of the 5 Dark Moon pieces, which have all been randomly shattered thanks to a cataclysmic event done by a familiar foe. So, like all my other videos, and to make an unoriginal piece of shit, let's separate these mansions into sections. Gloomy Manor is the first and most memorable mansion in the game, and acts as an excellent starting place for your adventure. It greets you with a sinister shot of its outer layers, swarmed by a rainstorm and tall, thick grass shredding through the dismembered concrete. The sound design in this intro is so good, I just can't get enough of this gate. Like, just take a listen to this. Anyway, upon entering the manor, you discover one of the funniest yet coolest utilities any game has ever offered, your brand new Poltergust 5000. Who knew that sucking up ghosts with Henry the Hoover would be so fun? As you work your way through the dense rooms of this mansion, you take out ghosts, fish up millions of dollars, and solve simple yet endearing puzzles that make excellent use of the Poltergust's power. I don't really know how else to include this in my videos, so I'm just going to mention it here. If you love collectathons and haven't played any of the games in this franchise, you are seriously missing out. The game is packed to the brim with hidden secrets and gems to find, as well as money stashed in every corner of the place. Whilst I don't entirely love how the money is used in this game, it still feels necessary to try and find as much of it as you can when exploring these places, as they bring an immense level of satisfaction despite their simple premise. But we'll touch more on that soon. The mansions you explore also contain gems, which can be only accessed by putting your 8 brain cells together and figuring out how to collect them. Some are very simple, like just grabbing them from a tree, but others can really test you and have you trying to work out just how they are collected. They make great use of their environments and don't feel like they're just plastered into the game for no reason. Whilst they don't inherently serve much of a purpose, without them I would definitely say the game would feel more soulless. But anyway, back to the mansion. It serves its purpose as an introduction to the game masterfully and gives you plenty of opportunities to work out the game's mechanics through its basic puzzle solving and easy to kill enemies. The mansion does many things that help bring itself to life despite its obviously lifeless feel. Its walls are infested with spiders and their cobwebs, ranging from minor to ones large enough to cover entire door frames. Pianos play themselves during an intense fight with a big forehead ghost, nights in the hallway come to life when you least expect it, and a bed even tricks you into discovering a hidden study room, which then leads you down to the art studio for a fire, acting as a frightening yet genius way of incorporating an escape route into the room. One thing you will also collect in the mansion is the Dark Light, which by activating, grants you the ability to see invisible objects that house treasure, gems, or even booze, which you can find one of in each of the levels. The final level of each manor features its own unique boss fight to tackle as well, and Gloomy Manors might honestly be my least favourite, not just because it's a spider and I'm a massive pussy, but because it's just so goddamn finicky. I love the aesthetic of the place, with it being within dimly lit cellar swarmed with cobwebs and destroyed knights, but my god, I cannot stop getting hit by practically everything during this fight. Its small play space really doesn't suit the amount of obstacles you're forced to avoid, and I found myself feeling frustrated by the end of the fight and just thankful that it was over. Luigi grabs the Dark Moon piece and then lives my single worst nightmare, before being swiftly teleported back to E.Gadd. Overall, Gloomy Manor is an excellent starting place for your journey, and acts as the perfect way to introduce most of the mechanics you'll be familiarizing yourself with during your trip across these 5 areas. So with that being said, let's move on to... The Haunted Towers are not a metaphor for a certain event taking place in 2001, but are instead Luigi's next zone to explore, as it houses the second piece of the fabled Dark Moon. This mansion switches things up and introduces a couple new things for Luigi to toy around with, mainly the balloon plants, which let you use a balloon, Instead of the set piece being an actual house someone could live in, the Haunted Towers act like a mix between a rundown hotel and a magnificent greenhouse that is overrun with nature on every possible surface. The puzzle solving revolves around the environment in a lot of ways, making for some special, albeit simple environmental storytelling. But that's exactly what you expect from a Nintendo game, and it's pulled off amazingly in this title. The halls feel densely packed with enemies and secrets that not only fill the space really well, but also create plenty to do as you roam the towers. One of the levels even has you fighting 3 sister ghosts all at once in a dreary graveyard, whilst a toad hugs a wall and doesn't shut the fuck up. I've never wanted to kill one of those bastards more than I have in this game. Honestly, when making this remake, how did they not resolve this issue? It makes me want to rip my fucking hair out. Anyway, there's a handful of over-disturbingly Nintendo things scattered around the mansion, such as the creepy doll room near the top of the left tower, as well as a red ghost checking himself out. I'm trying not to spoil everything in this video because I do think this game is worth trying out, but it's so hard not to, as I feel like every mansion has just so much charm to talk about. I will go ahead and say that fighting a literal set of stairs after travelling up 1,000 other ones was an amazing way to round off one of my personal favourite sections in the game. This place is freaky as shit. Being dropped into a deserted, clockwork area that's consumed by nothing but darkness and a deep, overwhelming bass stemming from the air around you is one of the most out-of-pocket things for a game like this to have, especially considering how kid-friendly it is. I'm about to be 19 and even this freaked me out when I was replaying it. The old Clockworks aren't even a mansion, like Nintendo, you have a really bad problem with naming things mansions and then them not being mansions. Overwhelming heaps of sand and dust practically drown the space and really hinder your ability to walk around with haste. The place even introduces us to bombs that can be activated with our flashlights and even fucking tornadoes. Beneath this monstrous architecture, a dark maze of catacombs trap you within its walls on the mission to find one of the clockwork keys needed to reach the top of the tower where the 3rd Dark Moon piece is. And within this dungeon, mummies. Yes, ghost mummies, how do you think of this shit? Also, you've got tricky platforming sections like this one where all you hear is... And it wouldn't be a Clockwork world if you didn't have to traverse your way along a bunch of gears. The boss yet again is one that takes advantage of its set piece, with you doing a boss rush style stage under an intense time limit that is elevated by the score behind this fight. Every 4th cycle brings out the poltergeist, housing the precious Dark Moon piece you need, and after 12 increasingly harder fights, you finally find your way inside him. That sounds really weird. Moving on. Your 4th locale of the game is a derelict mine located on the peak of a nearby snowy mountain. As the name suggests, most of your time in this quote-unquote mansion will be spent in the deep chasms of the mountain. Although if you want to come and play ice hockey at the local lake, you can if you fancy breaking both your kneecaps. You do another tow mission and have to endure several minutes of pain from these little fuckers. Firstly, how can they not even take a step on ice? And secondly, what is it with their vocal cords? Like, can you please just shush? I personally find the mine to be the weakest of the 5 mansions because of its lack of originality in its level design. Most of the rooms feel the same and don't contain much besides the occasional boo or gem you can find. And to be honest, I just... Oh, hang on a sec, I'm getting a call.
Hello?
Do I want you to stop calling me every 5 seconds? I mean, if you're offering, then absolutely. Like, what? Yeah, so not only do the toads not shush in this game, but neither does E.Gadd. At every possible second of the trip, he has something he wants to say. I get that this game was made for kids and they need to be babied around with instructions, and clearly I did too when I was younger because I do not remember it being this infuriating. Now that I have a complex brain and can process basic puzzle solving, I find these constant calls to be nothing but frustrating for me. Levels can take anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes to complete, and I swear about 50% of those minutes come from having him in my ear constantly. But anyway, back on track. The mine just isn't very good in my opinion. I really like the new inclusion of portals that transport you around, and I think some of the fights in these tiny rooms lead to some chaotic fun, but overall the creativity really just falls short. And the boss fight really doesn't help this either. You have to time these bomb shots really well 3 separate times and then fight the poltergeist in a really easy fight that ultimately just feels like a blunder in this otherwise really well designed game. I mean, the world only had 3 levels, and that just goes to show you how little this place has to offer. Alright, finally a return to form. The 5th and final mansion opens up with a desolate shot of a perilous path towards the horror house, located in the center of an endless waterfall chasm. I think this opening shot really sets the mood for what you're about to get into in this final test for Mr. Green. Its environment is dilapidated and painted with a similar green hue to our protagonist, but just lacks the joyful tone that he possesses. Unlike the other mansions in the game, the first mission you set off is actually based deep underground as you hunt for the frustratingly adorable Polterpup, who I've tried my very hardest not to actually bring up until now. You know the show Oggy and the Cockroaches, where the bugs are just always up to some mischief and Oggy constantly has to stop them? Yeah, that's basically what you're doing with Polterpup in this game. This adorable little dickhead loves nothing more than leading you on a trip around the mansion that you really just have no interest in taking. Don't get me wrong, I love Polterpup and his adrenaline-filled brain, but chasing him around so often is sometimes painful. He does become your pet at the end of the game though, so I'll let him off because he is pretty cute. Going back to the underground, this maniacal maze sets you up for the trial you're about to face within the mansion's walls, and is an excellent pacemaker and tone setter, and the mansion itself really takes the cake for the most unique in the entire game. This place is absolutely huge and knows exactly what it wants to be. It pits you up against the hardest enemies in the game thus far, contains numerous intricate and detailed puzzles, and even acts as a museum on the bottom floor, containing 4 areas that each have their own personality attached to them. I mean, a mammoth tries to murder you in cold blood. If that isn't the hardest shit ever, I don't know what is. Yeah, again, the toads in this place can fuck off, but let's just not forget about the second floor, which is honestly kind of hard to explain in one word. It's just sort of chaotic. On one single floor, you can fly to space, drive a train, man a pirate ship, and also control a hot air balloon. This place is fucking sick. Good job, Treacherous Mansion, for winning the Gold Star Award for not fumbling the finale, because if it was this place, I would rate this game a 0. To add to this mansion's praises as well, the last level, albeit very nerve-wracking, is such a blast to play and really feels like the ultimate test of your skills you've worked on throughout your time playing. And for those not wanting any spoilers for the ending, this is your timestamp to skip straight to the next portion of the video. You all gone? You sure? Okay, let's go. When I first played the 3DS version of this game, I remember getting dropped into the final level and feeling pumped, but never did I expect to fight 2 bosses in the finale. Instead of just fighting King Boo straight away, you face one final poltergeist who takes control of a giant fucking knight. Get it? Because it's called Stop the Nightmare. That's pretty funny, Nintendo. I'm sure there's many more of you out there that can share this same feeling when you saw this 50-foot glowing face inside a suit of armor towering over you, and then getting dropped straight into the King Boo fights moments later. Nintendo, please do more finales like this. They're just amazing. The fight against King Boo is intense and is heightened by the subtle yet bone-chilling soundtrack accompanying your brawl. And if you like Subway Surfers, you'll love the alternate phase of this fight, where you must run from the big white bowling ball whilst an onslaught of obstacles does whatever they can to fuck you up. TikTokers should honestly start putting this in the videos, to be honest. After a riveting fight, you and the rest of the ghosts you had captured finally return back to their true form in a wholesome and sweet ending of everyone taking a picture together, followed by a full circle moment of Luigi back on the sofa asleep, this time with a dog resting on top of him. Whilst the ending is quintessentially Nintendo, I don't see anything wrong with it, and I believe it leaves the game with a satisfying ending that really leaves you wanting more. Now, let's go on to the other aspects of Luigi's Mansion 2. For those who don't know, Luigi's Mansion 2 also introduced the series to a lesser known thing known as online multiplayer. And this mode is shit. It's really mediocre. Maybe it's just because I have no actual friends to play it with, but this series just did not need a multiplayer mode, a mode which hasn't even been improved in any way in this remake, remaster, whatever the fuck it is. I can certainly see some people having a great time with this mode, but I've really never been much of a fan, and honestly that is all I have to say about Skyscraper. One thing I am a fan of though is the better graphics, because holy does this game look and feel so much better on the Switch. I can't imagine ever going back to this game using one analog stick, and it's by far the greatest quality of life improvement this version has. And the game itself is honestly just gorgeous now. It's nothing compared to the next installment in the franchise, but it's still a stunning spectacle with a signature art style I wished more games used. But although the improvements added are nice, it's also the source of my biggest critique I actually have with the game. The title being Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is not only accurate, it's exactly what it is. In true Nintendo fashion, they remake an old classic and slap a 50 quid price tag on it. And considering you can pick the game up on 3DS for half of that value, as well as being the same price as the third game was at launch, really feels like a bit of a dick move. If you're like me and can kind of get over the steep price tag and just see the game as what it is, do I think it's worth the money? Absolutely. I did a casual playthrough of the game whilst trying to collect what I could and ended up with an adventure lasting roughly 15 hours. If you've played it before and have good memory, you could honestly beat it in its entirety in under 10. But that wasn't my goal with the game, and I don't think it should be yours either. The only question left to ask is, don't come at me with pitchforks when I say I haven't played the game that started it all, alright? I mean, look at this release date. Do you really think I was around for that? With my only two experiences being the most recent entries in the franchise, they are the only two games I know I can have an opinion on. And what I discovered about both of these games is that they equally suffer from the same issue, which is inconsistency. Each game has areas that are some of the most exciting places to explore and truly showcase the masterclass of creativity that Nintendo is known for. But simultaneously, they both have some extremely weak moments. I feel like I've already discussed that side of things with this game, so let's pay more attention to this. Luigi's Mansion 3 is arguably the better game. It has a vast array of floors to explore that each contain their own one-of-a-kind boss fights that plays into the theme of the floor you're on. It also is probably the best looking game on the entire Switch, especially when looking at the cutscenes. I mean, look at this, man, this shit is a movie. I also felt more interested in uncovering every nook and cranny because of its masterful level design that encourages exploration through and through. But oh my fucking god, do some of the parts in this game make me want to throw Luigi off the building. The Pulse Kitty inclusion might just be my least favourite thing out of both of these games, because it's just tedious for the sake of being tedious. I don't want to grab an elevator key only for it to be snatched and then have to go on an overextended wild cat chase across several floors. You truly don't understand how much I hate these things. The Boilerworks suck piss, the Boilerworks Toad mission sucks piss, the Fitness Center boss sucks piss, and a lot of this game just kind of sucks piss. But if you can wipe all of that off your face, you're honestly left with a game that is easily superior to its predecessor, and this revelation during my replay for this video was honestly just confusing to me. I mean, Luigi's Mansion 2 was a game I'd always held in high regard as probably the best game on the 3DS, as well as one of my best Nintendo games of all time. But rediscovering the third game and comparing the two, it's honestly not a hard debate. The most recent game really is the best of the two, a sentence I never thought I'd come to say. Whether my opinion has changed due to nostalgia or what, I don't know, but one thing I can say is this: Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is absolutely worth your time, and I mean that with every vein in my body. Whilst it doesn't do much to warrant its higher price tag, it's still worth that value thanks to its extreme level of charm, tight and intuitive gameplay, and lovable cast of characters that make for a short yet hilarious title that I believe is worth everyone's time. Thank you all for watching. Okay, so biggest thing, I sound like an absolute idiot, and that is because I got my surgery done, and now you're able to hear that. So sorry that this is going to be what I sound like for the foreseeable future, and it may even get worse. Yeah, I've got a retainer in, I've got a lisp. If I take it out, I mean, I can do it right now. Like, I can't even touch the top of my mouth without having some kind of reflex. So if you want me to sound like this in my videos, yeah, that's what I can sound like. I'm not used to it yet. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I've got a really exciting project coming up, and it probably will come out after my birthday. You guys need to all wish me a happy birthday. If you don't, I will scold you. And yeah. Thank you all to my members, by the way. I almost completely forgot about that. I'm stupid. I'm a terrible YouTuber. Thank you to Tesco Meal Deal. Thank you to E.Gadd. I appreciate both you guys. Take care, all of you, and peace.